All right, so it's May 25th, 2023. Um, so I'm continuing my life story. So as you can see, I'm wearing the Two Men in a Truck shirt. But I wear this shirt because the material is very good. But I have quit as of a week and a half ago, I believe, maybe 2 weeks the most. And I have decided that I will never go back to moving. Um, Not that I have anything against it, but I have determined to myself that I believe in myself enough that I never have to go back to a minimum wage, manual labor, customer service type of job in order to get by because I'm going to find another way to do things. I just made that decision. So, since February, I have started a data analyst course bootcamp with U of T. So I'm currently about halfway through it. Um, I have fallen behind just because, you know, having the mental energy and capacity to do school, to have a job, to raise a toddler, um, I basically just wasn't able to keep up. I admit I have wasted a lot of time playing video games just to pacify um, myself. So that's one of the things that I'm actually have also decided to get over. I read, I think it was a tweet, possibly recently, that if you play video games more than 3 or 4 hours a night, that you are on the same spiritual level as a functional alcoholic. And that kind of really hit home for me because I realized that people have different ways to solace themselves, to um, numb the pain or to numb the discomfort, and so basically to distract themselves. And so video games has actually been my form of distraction. So I wouldn't consider myself to be a drinker. I don't do a lot of things, but gaming is something that I do. So that's something that I need to get over. So I've started to give an effort to really catching up on my schoolwork. So I am determined to try to get back on track and to pass this course. I can't say that my grades will be great, but I at least want to get the certificate and to apply for a better job if I feel I need extra money. My main goal to be a day trader has never changed. I just find that I've continually gotten better at it. And it's interesting thinking about it, because I've dumped a lot of money into this and I've been losing a lot of money. And I was actually getting very frustrated. I remember one day being in the kitchen and just like literally about to just give up. And I had like tears in my eyes and I was frustrated. And I kind of looked up and talked slash prayed at God. And I was like, "You're good for," and I held myself back. Basically, in my heart, I was basically saying, "You're no help at all." And I caught myself and I was, thinking, I don't want to go there. So then I changed the prayer and I was like, Lord, help me to figure out how to do this properly. And so I've actually seen changes in the way that I can see the stock movements and the way that I trade. And I think it really comes down to that moment in time. And something kind of occurred to me about God. Um, God does not necessarily prefer to use miracles to help people. And what I mean by that is God has created laws that govern the universe, the laws of gravity, the laws of energy, thermodynamics, you name it. Like, he's created a whole system that runs itself. And it does God no benefit. Neither does it benefit us for God to just step in and, perform a miracle to help us in a moment of need. He may do so here and there, but it's not his main objective to run miracles through our lives as we grow closer to him. I believe what he would much prefer is that we become the kind of people that grow in wisdom. And growing in wisdom is really learning to understand how reality works, how the rules work, and learning to perform in the right way. Because, it goes back to the old phrase, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach a man how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime, you know? So it's in God's, I would say, wisdom that he would rather we learn how to fish and how to grow in wisdom in all aspects of our lives, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, whether it's educational, the ability to be a servant, the ability to love others and put others' needs before yourself, to really grow as a person. God prefers growth rather than instantaneous solving of immediate problems. So that being said, once I changed the frame of my request to God, which is, help me, not help me to win, but help me to learn how to see things the way that they ought to be seen, I started to change my approach. So, my initial approach over the years has been basically trying to look for a a series of moments of momentum moving. And what I mean by that is, you're watching the stocks and you see this one stock going up in price, from 935 to 937, for 2 3 minutes it's been going up. And then my goal was to basically find a way to guess, you know, how much extra percent I could squeeze out before it stopped and went the other direction. And, you know, obviously that hasn't worked. I've lost tens, I would say about almost $20,000 over the years doing this kind of stuff. But what I've been doing in the meantime is, as I did trades and lost money over the weeks and months and years, I also have been taking screenshots of the graphs over that time, and I look back and I've learned to find the stocks that did well and bunch those pictures into a single file, and then look through those pictures and look for the relationships or the similarities between them, what happened consistently across, and look for those kinds of patterns. And then once I've been able to do that, I've been able to actually see reoccurring happenstances. And my trading has actually improved so much more. Like, I'm able to look at a graph and almost tell within 2-3% of where it's going to drop to. I can look at a graph and see a certain candlestick and basically determine that from this point forward, if it goes up by this much price, then I should get in. If it goes down by this much price, then ignore it. So it's not necessarily I'm trying to guess where to get in, but I'm also establishing with this certain candlestick, it will perform well in the next few minutes if it reacts this way. And that is how I've been able to actually really improve my game. All right, moving on to another topic. Actually, let me just finish before that with this last point. I've also begun to spend days meditating and really affirming to myself that I'm going to be successful at this. So I currently have about $1,000 US to trade in my accounts right now. And my goal is to get that account up to, I've chosen an arbitrary number over 10,000. So I've chosen 13,773. So the reason why I've chosen this number is because it is arbitrary, but I keep telling myself that I'm going to reach this number, and I'm reaffirming it to the point where I believe it so strongly that I will manifest that reality for myself. I'm really trying to, it's not just, hoping that I'm going to reach this number. It's also convincing myself that I am the kind of person who can do this and who's going to do this. And so that will lead to me carrying myself and moving in such a way that that reality becomes real. Like, if you want to become a business owner, or you want to become a celebrity, or any of these things that people admire in the world, and you feel that you're a regular person, like, you can't just step from where you are and who you are right now into being a celebrity. You have to believe that you can be that, but then also start to make the moves and the choices and actions that reform you into that version of you. So you have to transition your version into that person over success, uh, consecutive steps, that the slight changes and actions and habits that you form day to day to day from here up till there has to align more and more and more with that person. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I am affirming to myself that I am the kind of person that already has an account of 13,773 US dollars to trade every day. And I envision myself being that person every day right now. And I am making the moves to be the kind of person that studies the market, studies technical charts, um, has the time to really absorb and to let the answers just come to him, without forcing it. Like, just not trying to find the answers all the time, but sometimes just looking at a chart and letting your subconscious mind point things out to you. That's another thing that I've been doing. All right, so moving on. My son Noah is 17 months now. Turned that um, yesterday, the 23rd. I can't remember. All right, so being a father has been fun. It's been challenging. Definitely requires a lot of energy, and it's hard to get things done because you're mentally distracted by making sure this human being doesn't kill himself, or doesn't get hurt. Um, there's only really two things at this point that I really fear for him: is him falling down and hitting his head, or him running into something and hurting his eyes. Anything else, if he falls down, gets a bruise, I don't really mind so much because that's part of growing up. So my job at this point is basically to protect his eyes and his head from severe injury. And he's at the point where he's pulling drawers, he's reaching for things on shelves. So to a degree, I have to keep a watch on him. And he's playing, he's screaming, he's having fun, and the noise and the constant moving around the room, it takes up mental real estate. So you're always distracted, and you're always never able to, like, really study or think in quiet when you have a toddler or a baby around. So that makes everything a lot harder. Um, but other than that, you know, your love for your child continues to grow, and as they start to form human um, tendencies, like as you see this person forming before you, it's really a blessing to see it and to realize that, you are this person's daddy, and they're looking at you as their hero, their protector, their role model. And so, you know, it really falls on me to get my life together. So it's time to put away the video games. It's time to start taking care of my health. It's time to really establish financial stability for my son and my woman. Um, so that's becoming more of a main objective and focus for me. Um, I'm definitely, on another note, glad that the COVID shenanigans are over. I never really got to talk about it, how I felt about it during the time, because it was still happening, and it was a lot of confusion and misinformation. So I want to kind of give my reasonings for not getting vaccinated, and kind of explain the situation as I saw it before, too much time passes and the memories of that time become faded. So back when it started, March or May, I think, of 2019, I can't remember when, it was happening in Asia, then it came to Europe, and then it came to North America, and we were all on quarantine lockdown, basically stayed at home, got paid by the government, CERB. Uh, so which was okay. I mean, most of the time I used a little bit of money from CERB to pay for some bills, but I had the intention or the idea to become an investor, so I put away a good amount of it into gold and silver when I could. So that was really what gave me the startup money to do the trading that I've done recently and to learn the the mistakes, through experience, through the sting of failure. I've been able to see what I've been doing wrong. So during COVID, we were all staying home, kind of just waiting to see what happened. And there was a lot of media pushing for us to get, you know, to stay home and stuff. But when the vaccinations came around, the reason why I hesitated was because from the very beginning, certain experiences happened that made me very suspicious of the whole situation because I thought that something was amiss. I thought that there was lying and deception happening. So I'll give a few examples of how I came to that conclusion. So, one of my church friends has a friend who worked as a nurse at a hospital. And so she sent us a WhatsApp audio recording with a conversation between her and her nurse friend. And this was at the time when on the TV, the news reporters were saying that hospitals are packed with people, there's no space, it's pandemonium in the hospitals, people are getting sick left, right, and center. And so she asked her friend, what's it like in the hospital? And her friend told her, honestly, there's nobody here. Like, literally, the nurses are sitting down, twiddling their thumbs on their phones because there's literally no one in the hospital. Like, there's no patients, no people. Everyone is actually staying away from the hospital, and they have nothing to do. So I was thinking, it's interesting. And there were several videos on YouTube of people actually running to hospitals with their phones and saying, "Where are the people? Where are the people? Where are the people?" And there was no need to be seen. Another example, um, my father went with some of his work colleagues to a vaccination, not a vaccination, sorry. This was before vaccinations came about. They went to a testing facility to test for COVID virus. So he said that two or three of his friends were in the line waiting to get tested. But this line took so long that they actually just left and went home. 2 weeks later, they got a mail saying that they tested positive from that testing facility. So, another lie. How can you receive positive test results when you never even took the damn test? I mean, you had to sign the form before you got into the line, so they had their information. So that was another red flag for me. Um, Towards the end, not the end, but towards the point where they're really pushing the vaccinations in the summer, our mayor, Doug Ford or Rob Ford, I'm not sure which one, the brother that didn't die, he was really pushing that everyone get their second dose vaccinations. He was really like campaigning hard. He had this whole week or 2 weeks where he says he wants to put 200,000 needles a day. Like, he was going crazy, and then a few weeks after that, the the script changed, and he says, you know what, we just have to learn to live with it. I can't remember the exact date, but I'm sure that I could find it later on. But he literally changed the script within a 2 week period where he went from saying we have to get everyone vaccinated, I want to get 200,000 people vaccinated a day, to, you know what, guys, folks, we have to learn to accept this and live with it, and it is what it is. And this was during the exact time where they had basically, I don't remember if it was a law or like there was something going on to the effect of if people don't get vaccinated by this date, you will be fired from your jobs. Like, people were literally getting fired for not getting vaccinated. And there was like a certain deadline date where everyone was told you have to be vaccinated by this time or else there's going to be massive layoffs. And around that time, that's when the script changed. So that's another thing that was like, mm-mm, mm-mm, something's wrong. A fourth and final example that I'll give for now was, yes, okay, in memory now. I remember CTV News, I believe, had news segments on YouTube where the titles would, for example, say 85% of Canadians agree with getting second vaccinations. Or another example would be Canadians are in support of laying off non-vax citizens. These are the sort of titles that they had. But in the title of the article and in the newscast segment, they were talking about how Canadians were very supportive of the government's policies and the government's initiatives, and saying basically that most Canadians were on board. But if you went down and looked at the thumbs up and the thumbs down, for example, you would see like 10,000 thumbs up, and then you would see 300,000 thumbs down, which basically told me that actually most Canadians were against everything that was being said in this damn video. And this was happening for multiple videos over several months. And I noticed this. And I took pictures and I took videos recording the titles of these CTV news and also the thumbs up, thumbs down. And then I started to notice after a while that the numbers on the downvote disappeared. So you would see 10,000 thumbs up, and then you would see thumbs down, but no number associated with it. So they began to hide the numbers of who downvoted it. So this was a fourth example of how deception of the media was happening during this time. And there were videos of people who were saying that all these diseases and side effects were happening and that they're getting sick. So, and these were getting basically shut down by the media. There were like protests everywhere, but you weren't really seeing it. So it was a big mess. And I think I want to finish up that point with saying there was a more recent article that came out maybe in the fall or maybe like 2021, where this woman was saying that they have begun to release their clinical papers from AstraZeneca, or was the other one? The one that Fauci was in charge of. Pfizer, is it Pfizer or I remember what the one with Fauci was running. But anyways, she said there was a page, no, there was like 4 pages long of possible side effects. So over 90 possible symptoms of taking this COVID vaccine. So my conclusion is that this vaccine did not in any way um, help people necessarily. And the side effects, in my opinion, I think is because it didn't necessarily give you anything bad. This is my personal opinion. I don't believe that the vaccine actually gave anybody any particular symptom in and of itself, but I believe that whatever underlying health conditions the person already had, the vaccine just accentuated and really blew it out of proportion. So, in saying that, I believe that anybody who had underlying heart problems that were beginning or that were starting to form but were unnoticeable because they're relatively healthy and young, you know, or if they had autoimmune problems or they had, you know, brain or clots basically forming, that this vaccine actually sped up the process of those bad symptoms and really just set it on fire. And that's what actually I believe is the real reason why a lot of people have been dying and claiming that the COVID vaccine caused it. So that's all I'll say on that matter for now. So I think it's about time to wrap up this video. It's almost halfway through 2023. I'm 35, and it's really now that I feel I've come to begin to realize my potential as a human being, in the sense that I'm no longer blaming others for my failures. I'm no longer blaming circumstances. I'm learning to take responsibility for myself and to take the responsibility of taking care of my family upon myself. So that means that I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to put in the suffering necessary for the growth in order to become the person that can accomplish all these things. Like, one of the main takeaways I've really learned in the past year or so, in meditating and praying to God, in living my life, in experiencing life, is that material things do not matter. When God takes us to heaven, and they say that the streets are paved with gold, if you really think about that, I mean, our streets here are made of gravel pavement, which is literally worth nothing because it's just rock and stone thrown together. So if God can make a whole city with roads made out of gold, that means that to him, gold has no value because he can bring it into existence easily. So the value of achievements, the value of possessions is all fleeting. The only thing I've come to realize or believe at this point in my life at 35 is that wisdom, the knowledge, and the ability to bring yourself to do the things necessary to follow, to learn the rules and to follow the rules and to become responsible and to become serving and responsible for others, to become the process of becoming more and more of a person over your lifetime. That is the key. That is the goal of life. And that's what I'm pursuing at this point in my life. The growth of becoming more and more of a person every day. Anyways, we'll check in again some other time. Take care.